For that reason, they're putting their money on Ghislain. The cheap Hulk is still full of himself, but he nonetheless accepts Ghislain's challenge. However, he refuses to let go of his sword and decides to use it against our boy. Belinda, panicking at this unexpected turn of events, quickly urges the young master to pick up his sword as well. But the big bastard has already started to swing his sword down, while my guy stays as cool as a cucumber, ready to knock some sense into this brute. As soon as that sword comes crashing down, Ghislain ducks, moving so fast that his silhouette seems to lag behind. He delivers a crushing blow to the sucker's overgrown leg, following it with a devastating uppercut under the chin. The bastard's face is left leaking blood. That one punch was enough to scramble his brain, and one of his knees hits the ground. This was unreal. Cain didn't even see those punches coming. The audience is just as surprised as everyone else, thoroughly enjoying this unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, Ghislain exudes confidence and charisma, claiming he hasn't even started yet and wants to play some more. This bruises the fatty's fragile ego, making his jaw clench as he rushes at our boy once again. But my guy just keeps dodging left and right effortlessly. The choreography of this fight scene is insane. Even as the narrator, I can't keep up with all those godly movements. No matter what the fatty tries, every move gets countered and overpowered. In return, he's met with one crushing blow after another. As Cain reflects on his situation, he remembers how Ghislain used to avoid looking him in the eye, always bowing down whenever Cain showed up. But now, everything has changed. The fatty keeps taking hits, an endless barrage of blows from our hero. He's playing the perfect role of a punching bag. At one point, his entire body is covered in bruises. His face is so banged up that even his own mother would refuse to recognize him as her son. Ghislain grabs the bastard by the hair, and as he looks at this stubborn fatty, he feels genuine pity for his family. Count Logos had supported the Perdium house relentlessly, even when it was on the verge of collapse, simply because he was a close friend of our boy's father. However, Ghislain can tell that Cain is nothing like his father. The scene transitions to a few years ago, where we hear Cain shouting at his father for being overly supportive of the Perdium house. Cain is annoyed, arguing that his father is wasting resources by continuously investing in a land that's withering away. It hasn't even been a week since Logos returned home, but he's already preparing to head back to help Perdium. Cain begs his father not to go, visibly frustrated by what he perceives as his father's blind loyalty. But his father politely yet sincerely responds that he's doing all of this because they are friends, and there's no other reason than that. In the present, seeing this fatty, Ghislain balls up his fist. But surprisingly, this isn't a punch meant to obliterate the fatty's face. It's actually a hand of friendship extended from our boy. This hand of friendship is something none of us expected. And what's even more unexpected is that Cain warms up to this gesture and admits defeat. Everyone is left absolutely awestruck to see Cain admit his defeat, and the referee promptly announces Ghislain as the winner. Everyone from House Perdium is fascinated to see the young master win, while Elena is quite happy and overjoyed to see her brother finally bag the victory. That's when the hooded guy rushes toward the defeated Cain and starts berating him. He asks how Cain could admit defeat so early just because he was at a slight disadvantage. Cain doesn't respond. He simply turns his head away, stating that he's not playing that game anymore. Since Cain has failed to take down Ghislain, the hooded guy is not sure how he is going to face his seniors. Right at that moment, our boy also pops up in the scene and decides to play a little dirty with this sucker. The hooded guy has no clue what Ghislain is even thinking. But we soon get to know when our boy shouts at the top of his lungs that this man here is volunteering to pay for all the meat and drinks for everyone gathered here. While the hooded bastard is losing his mind, the crowd erupts in pure happiness at the thought of getting meat and drinks for free. The hooded guy quickly argues back, telling Ghislain that he never agreed to any of this and demands that he withdraw his statement. But my guy simply places a reassuring hand on this bastard's shoulder and lets him know that this is the price for losing the duel. And just to be clear, it won't be deducted from the bet. He tells him to remember to add 2,000 gold to the original bet of 1,000 gold. And if he tries to run, the consequences will be severe. When Ghislain says this, he means every word of it. The menacing picture of our boy quickly burns into the bastard's eyes. Later, the next day, in Ghislain's room, we find Ghislain staring at a treasure chest full of glittering gold coins. The amount of money he has is actually pretty huge. To give you an idea of how much it is, you could easily hire a small mercenary corps with this amount of money. But it takes a lot of time to grow money, and those bastards who want him killed won't wait for his forces to grow. So he only has a limited amount of time to execute the business plan he has in mind. That's when Belinda and his sister come up to him with satisfied smiles on their faces. The way they're looking at him feels like they have some ulterior motive hidden behind their smiles. He quickly questions why they're here, to which his little sister politely asks where he plans to spend all this money. Of course, Ghislain catches on to what she's implying, so he directly asks her if she wants some. To which the lady responds that she's just asking. Belinda then speaks up, stating that she has a pretty good idea of where he's going to spend it all. She is sure that since Lady Amelia's birthday is coming up soon, Ghislain must be planning to put on a grand show to buy his fiancée an expensive present. But we all know that our boy isn't thinking about this at all. However, the mention of a fiancé catches Ghislain completely off guard. He literally does not even remember if he even has fiancé. The maid laughs softly, thinking he must be feeling shy. They know he's pretending to be clueless because he's embarrassed that they figured him out. Still, since Elena is noticing that her brother is quite absent-minded lately, she decides to remind him that they're talking about Amelia of Rayfold County. Finally, the name triggers some memories in Ghislain's mind, but they're not exactly fond ones. You see, Amelia Rayfold is renowned as a noble among nobles. Known for her kind nature and selfless actions, she's deeply admired in her territory, garnering the unwavering support of her people regardless of their social status. But Ghislain knows another side of this story. In his mind, she isn't a celebrated noblewoman but a traitor. Why? Because Amelia Rayfold, who once stood as a shining beacon of nobility, would later incite rebellion. She would become infamously known as the Witch of the North, aligning herself with the Delphine Duchy to deliver the final blow to Perdium's downfall. To Ghislain, she is no gentle fiancée, but the very woman who betrayed everything his family stood for. He then asks Belinda when his father will return, to which she responds with uncertainty, saying probably in a week. This is good enough for Ghislain. With a full week ahead of him, he decides to take a trip to Rayfold County. Belinda isn't sure why he's leaving already since it's not even her birthday yet, but my guy says he's going to get some money from them. Later, we finally see the lady in question, Amelia Rayfold. At first glance, she looks dead-eyed, but I can't take my eyes off her major assets. Nonetheless, she's in this town, where she's offering a poor little girl a pair of sandals. Amelia is apparently offering her own sandals, so the little girl isn't sure whether to take them or not. But Amelia assures the hesitant girl that if anyone has to walk barefoot on her land, it should be her. She then commands her soldiers to provide food and shelter for them right away, and the soldiers quickly jump into action. As she walks away with her entourage of soldiers, all the civilians echo their gratitude. Later, we arrive at Rayfold County, in Amelia's garden, where we see this guy washing her feet with such dedication that you might feel jealous of. He's really proud of the great job she's done. This guy is actually Amelia's escort knight, Bernaf. Amelia responds to him that her father had always demanded absolute obedience from the people of his territory, but the common folk will always follow the one who keeps them warm and well-fed. The guy then says that with this, she has won the people's hearts, and that it will definitely prove favorable in her future successor competition. But it looks like Amelia is not on the same wavelength as him, so she quickly puts her feet right over his face like a sadistic bitch. She questions him about what happened in the duel against the finest sword of the North, to which the guy apologizes, saying he lost intentionally to avoid unnecessary attention. If he had stood victorious, people might have started paying attention to her, and it's not yet the time for her to reveal her hidden claws. He then kisses her feet passionately while expressing his full support and loyalty to her. But the lady believes that this is how it should be since she has invested so much to raise him, and she definitely would never allow him to be a weakling. She then starts questioning him about the merchants. The knight assures her there is nothing to worry about with the Arctium Merchant Guild. All the materials used for the reconstruction of the Forest of Beasts outpost, which was recently half destroyed by the orc attack in Perdium, are being purchased through their merchant guild. In essence, her merchants are recouping all the support funds that Count Rayfold sends to Perdium each year. Moreover, he is recruiting all the soldiers and knights who are leaving Perdium. Many of those soldiers are great knights who are well trained from battles against barbarian tribes. Basically, her plan to squeeze everything out from Perdium is a total success so far. The lady is glad to hear this, and, as she said before, she tells him to maintain the appearance of an ordinary merchant guild and be thorough, because she cannot let their true identity be exposed until they have fully built up their strength. That's when her butler arrives. The knight is annoyed to see the butler entering the garden without permission, but the butler quickly delivers urgent news he received from the castle gate. Apparently, young Lord Ghislain Perdium has come to visit. Although we were told he is her fiancé, she definitely doesn't look even a little happy at the mention of his name. She questions the butler about the reason for his visit, and the butler gets all sweaty when he reveals that Ghislain is here to discuss the merchant guild. Both the lady and her knight Bernaf are wide-eyed upon hearing this. We then arrive in the visitor's room, where we find her sitting in front of our boy. My guy sits as casually as he can and greets her in the same laid-back tone. But the lady responds with a contemptuous expression to his greeting. She's clearly annoyed that he came here without prior notification, leading her to believe he still hasn't learned proper etiquette. My guy reminds her that since it's her birthday soon, he thought he'd give her a gift in advance. He places a flower on the table and explains that he picked it up from a merchant guild nearby. He mentions the fragrance is quite nice and that he plans to buy flowers from there from now on. If his memory serves him right, The merchant guild is called Arctium. Of course, the lady immediately knows where he's going with the conversation, but she plays clueless and says she isn't sure what he's trying to imply. Now that she's received his gift, she claims she'll take her leave and begins to walk away. But that's when my guy calls her name. With a serious look on his face, he tells her to sit down. The girl instantly picks on the pressure Ghislaine is exuding. What bothers her the most is how such ominous pressure could be coming from a guy who used to squirm and barely speak whenever he stood in front of her. My guy then decides to get straight to the point and demands money, around 10,000 gold coins. Not surprisingly, she's not vibing with the idea of him showing up out of nowhere and asking for such a large sum from his fiancée. She wonders if he's here on behalf of his father. But Ghislaine clarifies that his father has nothing to do with this. Besides, he already knows that she is not planning to marry with him anyway. He is sure that she might become the lord of this land given her preparations. He indirectly threatens her that if word about her secretly building power spreads in Rayfold, she might lose the succession fight. This makes her quite angry, of course. With some death glares, she tells him not to even joke about something like that, not even as a joke. To which my guy assures her that he will keep her secret for now, but of course he might not keep his word if he leaves this room empty-handed. But the lady remains sassy with her words because she has already figured out how to deal with Ghislaine. She quickly calls out to her knight, Bernaf, and that feet licker promptly walks inside. The knight doesn't forget his manners and promptly greets Lord Ghislaine. Meanwhile, when we peek into Ghislaine's mind, we learn that this guy has always stayed by Amelia's side, and he's a skilled individual with the potential to be compared to the finest sword of the north at the time. Our boy quickly reminds the lady that if she tries to kill him here, a war might break out. He questions whether she really has the time to be fighting wars when the succession ceremony is so close. But Amelia has already thought it through. She has the perfect alibi. A sudden ruffian barged in, caused chaos, and was killed by her escort knight. That's the story the world will hear about his demise. With that plan in mind, she doesn't hesitate before ordering her knight to kill this brat. The feet licker is more than happy to comply with her command, and quickly unsheathes his sword. But my guy isn't about to take any crap either. If that's how she wants to play it, then he has no choice but to get a little serious as well. The stage is set for yet another godly duel between two skilled individuals, so grab your parrots and brace yourself for what's coming next. But, well, as much as we wish to see a manly fight between two warriors, this piece of shit knight has some other plans. Suddenly, Ghislaine notices some rustling behind him, and before he can react, an assassin pops out from the empty armor and thrusts a sword directly into the sofa in an attempt to pierce our boy along with it. But this bastard was too slow, and my guy just rolls to the ground, kicks the bastard hard, and throws him out of the window. The lady and that sucker stand in disbelief because they didn't expect our boy to react with such finesse. Ghislaine expresses his disgust at this bitch for feigning politeness while launching a surprise attack. He then quickly lunges toward the knight, and they both engage in a sword fight. My guy questions this shit of a knight, asking if Rayfold doesn't know the way of chivalry. The knight apologizes but reminds our boy that he was the one who was rude by arriving unannounced and unsettling the lady with his shallow threats. The two go toe-to-toe, trying their best to tag the other with their sword first, but it looks like my guy has the upper hand with his ninja-like reflexes. He even manages to push this bastard back with a single kick. This knight definitely didn't think much of our boy, assuming he was all talk with no real skill to back it up. But now, he's learning the hard way that our boy is no rookie at all. Amelia, on the other hand, is losing her temper watching her knight get overpowered by this brat. She menacingly demands that he finish the fight quickly and bring her this bastard's head if he really considers himself her knight. The feet licker decides to get a little more serious because this is now a matter of his mistress's honor, and he doesn't want to disappoint her. He boldly tells our boy to come at him. My guy keeps that sassy smirk on his face, mocking how an escort knight dares to order him around like that. But now that this knight is asking for it, Ghislaine is more than ready to give this bastard exactly what he's asking for. The two once again engage in a deadly dance of swords, but this time, the knight isn't holding back a single bit. He even manages to graze Ghislaine's face with a nasty cut. Both of them are moving so fast it's hard to follow their movements. All they leave behind are silhouettes of themselves. Amelia, on the other hand, is growing more frustrated and restless watching Ghislaine fight like this. She can't believe how a guy who was once called a lousy punk is now fighting her knight, Bernaf, on equal footing. The fight itself is incredibly intense, and if you blink, you miss it. Both fighters are too fast. When our boy tries to tag this bastard, he dodges, and when this bastard tries to tag our boy, he dodges. This back and forth continues relentlessly. Ghislaine then tries to use the same attack he did before, but this time he gets slammed hard onto the ground. While he's caught off guard, the knight charges at him with his sword in hand, but Ghislaine quickly reacts, pulling off a series of acrobatic moves before landing back on his feet. By now, Ghislaine has figured out that this dude is enduring attacks by using mana. On the other hand, the knight is also forced to admit that Ghislain is quite different from what they've heard about him. The way he wields his sword doesn't look like something systematically taught. It seems more like he picked it up through real combat experience. The knight asks if Ghislain has perhaps fought with barbarians so often that he naturally adopted their style. He believes that such a method might work in a chaotic battlefield, but claims it won't work against him. This time the knight vows to end this. Ghislain also knows that this is not proving to be easy. The narrow, precise thrusts of the blade constantly targeting his head can mess with sense of distance and timing. And at close range, the difference in opponent's size makes it hard to overpower this bastard with technique alone. In the first place, this knight wasn't an opponent Ghislain should have tried to take on yet. It's basically like trying to defeat a final boss with level 1 gear. But, well, Ghislain didn't have much time to prepare for all that, so he decides to take the fight up a notch. He conjures up a mana string, which zips past the knight's ear. Before the knight can even figure out what's going on, my guy pulls a sword from behind, knocking the bastard hard at the back of his head. Then Ghislain follows up with a kick to the knight's face. Bernaf momentarily loses his senses after getting hit twice on his head, leaving the spider lady in disbelief. My guy then leaps into the air and comes crashing down, but the knight quickly throws him away with a powerful push of his body force.